Welcome to Imran's Star Video, or as we call it, ISVi, the collaborative lens on Vancouver, unfiltered, unscripted, and powered by community. We're not just a voice behind the mic, we're a collective of creators, thinkers, storytellers, and city lovers coming together to spotlight the people, places, and energy that make Vancouver what it is. From coast, mountain skylines to neon-lit backstreets, we're covering everything from downtown buzz to the untold stories shaping our scene. You'll find us exclusively on YouTube. No algorithms, no filters, just real talk. For behind the scenes, updates, and chaotic brilliance in real time, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. So hit subscribe, drop a comment, and help us grow from 100 to 10,000 subscribers and beyond, because this isn't just our platform, it's yours too. Turn it up, get into it, let's talk Vancouver. This is ISVi. Welcome to Vancouver, where the mountains are photogenic, the coffee is artisanal, and the sidewalks in the West End are literally gay. Like rainbow crosswalk gay. Like I just saw a shirtless man in 6-inch heels walking his Sphinx cat gay. This is the city where Davie Street glows like a Lisa Frank folder after dark, and where the queer scene has more layers than a drag queen in a quick change number. But don't let the neon lights and glittery bus stops fool you. This isn't just a queer utopia. This is rainbow capitalism's West Coast headquarters, where every pride flag outside a bank comes with a fine print that says, "We support you, but we still charge $6 a month for your checking account." For decades, Vancouver has been seen as one of the most LGBTQ plus friendly cities in Canada, and it's not just the marketing talking. The city has been home to generations of queer and trans people building community, resistance, joy, and some truly legendary parties. From Davie Village's iconic drag legacy to underground queer collectives in East Van warehouses lit only by LED strips and vibes, Vancouver's LGBTQ plus scene is both diverse and defiant. And yet, as with most things in the city, the queer experience here is a mix of pride and paradox. Yes, we have visibility, but who's being seen? Yes, there are rainbow crosswalks, but can the people who painted them still afford to live in the neighborhood? Davie Village, once a radical hub for queer survival, has now been semi-gentrified into a cocktail of real estate investors, corporate-sponsored drag brunches, and tourists looking for a good selfie. It's giving Yes Queen on the outside and $3,100 bachelor suite with character on the inside. This piece will take a not-so-gentle stroll through Vancouver's LGBTQ plus scene, from the glam and grit of Davie Village to the queer pockets blooming across East Van and the suburbs. We'll unpack the joy, the drama, and the erasure, and the fights. Because being queer in Vancouver means being fabulous and furious in equal measure. It means brunch and burnout, protest and poppers, community care and capitalist chaos. So grab your iced matcha, update your location on Grindr carefully, and get ready, because we're about to explore what it really means to be LGBTQ plus in Vancouver. And no, it's not just Davie Street after dark. If Google Maps could detect thirst levels, Davie Street would short-circuit your phone. This isn't just a neighborhood, it's a lifestyle, a performance, and let's be honest, a runway. Welcome to Davie Village, the spiritual home of Vancouver's queer scene and the place where gay men go to brunch, dance, flirt, spiral, and make the same questionable decisions every Pride weekend like it's tradition, because it is. Located in the heart of the West End, Davie Village is where the streets are painted in rainbows and the wardrobes are painted on. The iconic rainbow crosswalks near Butte Street aren't just photo ops, they're sacred ground where tourists pose, locals commute, and at least 3 drunk drag queens per weekend dramatically lip-sync to Whitney Houston's "I Have Nothing" after losing an earring and maybe their dignity. The neighborhood has been a historical safe haven for Vancouver's LGBTQ+ community, especially during the 1970s through the early 2000s. It was where you could walk hand in hand without flinching, find chosen family, or get read to filth in the smoking section of Numbers Cabaret. And speaking of Numbers, this is not just a bar, it's a rite of passage. If you haven't drunkenly whispered a secret to a stranger under the disco ball or pretended not to notice your ex across the room, did you even come out? Other staples like Celebrities Nightclub bring in the glitterati and the chaos. It's where EDM meets crop tops and where you'll either leave elated or existential. Possibly both. The drag scene is alive and kicking, often literally thanks to local legends and rising stars who've turned every stage and sometimes table into a platform for queer performance, protest, and just the right amount of drama. But Davie isn't just nightlife. It's got daytime flair too. There's the Junction, where Sunday drag brunch is equal parts performance and emotional support group. Little Sisters Bookstore, a historic LGBTQ+ bookshop that's basically the library of Queer Congress, and a rotating cast of salons, tattoo parlors, and rainbow sticker-covered cafes that may or may not charge $8 for a muffin because it's organic and queer. Yet beneath the glitter and glamour lies a more complicated story. As Vancouver's real estate market has ballooned like a drag race finale wig, Davie Village has felt the squeeze. Rents are soaring, queer bars are closing, and many longtime residents have been priced out of the very space they built. The gayborhood is now caught between nostalgia and gentrification, a spiritual home turned tourist attraction, where you can still find community if you can afford it. And let's talk diversity, or lack thereof. For all its rainbow branding, Davie has often been criticized for catering to cis, white, gay men with disposable income and very tight tank tops. BIPOC queer folks, trans people, disabled queers, and those in the economic margins frequently report feeling invisible or unwelcome. Like Davie's throwing a party, but only certain people made the guest list. Still, for many, Davie Village remains a touchstone, the first place they kissed someone of the same gender in public, danced until sunrise, or felt truly safe. It's imperfect, evolving, and yes, increasingly expensive, but it holds a legacy of resistance, joy, and sequence that refuses to be erased, no matter how many sushi fusion condos pop up next door. In the end, Davie's Village is like your favorite problematic friend, charming, iconic, a little messy, but impossible to fully conceal. It paved the way, made space, and still glows under the weight of its history. But now the question is, can it evolve into something more inclusive, or will it stay frozen in time like that one gay guy who peaked in 2011 and never updated his playlist? Contrary to what tourism boards, dating apps, and Real Housewives of Davie Street might have you believe, not every queer person lives in the West End, surrounded by rainbow planters and overpriced Pokeballs. Shocking, we know. Some gays, brace yourself, live east of Granville. Some even live in, gasp, Burnaby. Yes, beyond the rainbow bubble, a whole other queer ecosystem thrives, one that trades vodka sodas for yerba mate and shares its memes in group chats instead of bar washrooms. Over in East Vancouver, the LGBTQ+ scene is less rhinestones and more reclaimed wood. This is where the queer wears oversized thrifted flannel, talk about mutual aid between terrace poles, and throw underground parties in warehouses that may or may not be legally occupied. The vibes, anarchist, cottage core, with a splash of hyperpop. You won't find velvet ropes here, but you will find a makeshift DJ booth, a Zine swap, and probably a polyamorous couple painting each other's nails in the corner. This side of the scene prioritizes intersectionality, accessibility, and intentional community over rainbow capitalism. Queer and trans people of color, disabled folks, and sober queers have long found East Van to be more inclusive than the mainstream gay scene. Events like queer open mics, drag king showcases, and radical dance parties don't just welcome diversity, they are built by it. the East Van queers don't just get left off the guest list, they made their own party, complete with sliding scale cover and free Narcan kits. But the queer diaspora doesn't stop there. The suburbs, yes, the suburbs, are queering up too. In places like Surrey, Burnaby, and New Westminster, LGBTQ plus youth, families, and community organizers are creating their own spaces without waiting for Vancouver's validation. Sure, there may be fewer vegan taco trucks, but the sense of belonging is real, especially for those who don't see themselves represented in the polished, monolithic lineage and image of downtown queerness. Take New Westminster, for example, home to the only Pride crosswalk in Metro Vancouver that actually leads to an affordable apartment. Queer collectives there are carving out space through community centers, all ages events, and resource sharing networks. Meanwhile, in Surrey, grassroots queer organizations are doing the work, often without the funding, spotlight, or Instagrammable lighting, because not everyone has time to pose when they're out here building something that matters. And what about the queer folks in Kitsilano? Honestly, we're still looking. If you're gay in Kits, you're either deep in stealth mode or too busy blending into the yoga mat to be seen. It's giving closet, but it's Lululemon branded and costs $200. The point is, the queer scene in Vancouver is decentralized, diverse, and constantly evolving, even if the official narratives haven't caught up. Davie Village may be the historic heart, but the lifeblood is everywhere. Flowing through community art shows in Mount Pleasant, youth drop-ins in Surrey, and drag performances on Commercial Drive that would make RuPaul clutch her pearls. So no, not every gay lives in the West End. Some are in East Van screaming at the moon. Some are in New West raising queer families. Some are in Burnaby quietly organizing the next protest while microwaving leftovers. And all of them, every last one, are valid, valuable, and part of the city's LGBTQ plus pulse, whether or not they live above a rainbow crosswalk or a subway. Don't get us wrong, the LGBTQ plus scene in Vancouver is serving looks, serving vibes, serving community realness. But it's also serving burnout, displacement, and existential dread, all on a silver platter with the drag queen doing the splits in the background. We're out here giving camp and charisma. Yes, but also clutching our stomach because we can't afford both rent and the cover charge to that inclusive queer party that forgot to book a ramp-accessible venue. On the surface, it looks like Vancouver's queer community is thriving. There are drag shows every night of the week, trans-led collectives doing the real work, queer art installations in actual museums, and more grassroots events than you can shake a fan at. The scene is creative, loud, and unapologetic. It's giving chosen family potluck, but also everyone is clinically tired. Because here's the thing no one puts on a pride float. Community care is exhausting when you're doing it without funding. It's between double shifts while dodging microaggressions in your safe spaces. Beneath the glitter and dance floor fog lies the burnout that hits different when you're expected to both entertain and educate while still managing trauma, housing precarity, and a full-time job in customer service. And speaking of safe spaces, let's talk about who actually gets to feel safe. While rainbow branding is everywhere, from bank logos to police cruisers, yes, we saw it, no, we're not over it. Not everyone feels included in the inclusion. BIPOC, queer, and trans folks, disabled queers, and those without the financial privilege to spend $16 on a pride cocktail often find that welcoming spaces still come with unspoken dress codes, social cliques, and judgmental side eyes that could cut glass. It's hard to celebrate when the dance floors feels like a runaway for thin, cis, white bodies and everyone else is stuck in the shadows of diversity marketing. There's nothing quite like being invited to the queer table only to realize that you're seated at the kids section with no mic, no menu, and someone mispronouncing your name. Let's not forget that this whole glittery ecosystem is built on land that's not only unceded, but also increasingly unaffordable. Gentrification hasn't just priced queer folks out of Davie Village, it's coming for East Van, New West, and every pocket of queer joy that tries to exist without an investment portfolio. When rent is 80% of your income, there's not a lot left over for radical joy unless that joy is a one-night only emotion followed by panic. So yes, the scene is alive, it's giving theater, it's giving resistance, it's giving, and honestly, it's tired of giving. What it needs is sustainable support, real accessibility, community funding, and a break from having to carry the entire vibe economy of the city while being broke and emotionally scorched. Because queer people have always been magical, but magic doesn't pay the hydro bill. Let's get one thing straight. LOL, never. Queer joy isn't a trend, a vibe, or a rainbow-themed marketing campaign. It's resistance, wrapped in rhinestones. And while Instagram may try to reduce it to soft lighting, glitter tears, and that one sapphic picnic aesthetic with the cottagecore filter, the truth is that queer joy is forged, not filtered. It's what happens when we choose laughter in a world that tells us to shrink. It's chosen family, late night potlucks, sweaty DIY dance parties in someone's backyard, and screaming, "I love you," across a busy street without getting arrested, usually. Because let's be real, joy is political when you've been told you're not supposed to exist. The simple act of thriving, or even just being visible, is revolutionary in a society that still debates your right to pee in peace or exist without being tokenized on a diversity panel hosted by a cis-het moderator named Brad. Resistance in Vancouver's LGBTQ+ scene doesn't always look like the picket signs or protest chants. Though trust, we have those too. Sometimes it looks like a trans youth support circle in East Van, a drag king workshop run out of someone's basement, or a mutual aid fund that covers someone's top surgery consult because the system sure won't. It's quiet, loud, chaotic, underfunded, and constantly adapting. Kind of like a queer group chat, but with more spreadsheets and fewer nudes. And no, this joy isn't exclusive to downtown club kids or those who can afford a $40 cover to watch a Rue girl perform the same lip sync in 5 cities. Joy is being created daily by biopic, queer and trans folks, by disabled queers demanding access and dignity, by two-spirit people reconnecting with culture despite centuries of erasure. They're not waiting for an invitation to the party, they're building it from scratch, hot gluing it together, and DJing it off a borrowed aux cord. Let's not forget the indigenous two-spirit community, whose very existence is a direct challenge to colonial gender binaries and Christian shame spirals. They're leading ceremonies, reviving languages, and decolonizing the hell out of pride, while the rest of us are still arguing about whether glitter is biodegradable. That's resistance, that's legacy, that's power. And yes, sometimes resistance looks like joy because it has to. You can't march if your spirit's broken. You can't build if your tank's on E. So we dance, we dress up, we meme. We manifest peace in the middle of chaos. We weaponize joy the way straight men weaponize mediocrity. And honey, we're good at it. So while corporate pride might try to reduce us to a filter pack, the real scene, the one behind the makeup, beyond the bar lines and outside the grant applications, is alive with people who refuse to settle for representation when what we want is liberation. Because queer joy isn't just a trend, it's a battle cry in full glam. Every June, like clockwork, it happens. Companies you've never seen at a single community event suddenly burst into rainbow flags like they just discovered queerness was trending on TikTok. TELUS changes its logo, Starbucks slaps a trans flag on your $8 latte, and Amazon Canada tweets something vague and inclusive while union bustling behind the scenes. Welcome to Pride, where the rainbow isn't just a symbol of resistance, it's a marketing strategy. Let's be clear, there's a difference between showing support and showing up for the algorithm. And honey, a lot of these corporations are doing the absolute most for the bare minimum. 1 minute they're tweeting, "Love is love," and the next they're donating to anti-queer politicians faster than you can say performative allyship. It's giving yes queen on the timeline, and you're not a good cultural fit in the boardroom. This is what we call rainbow washing, when brands paint themselves in pride colors for 1 month out of the year, then return to their regularly scheduled cis heteronormativity by July 1st, as if queer people go back in the closet with their beach towels. You know the ones, the beer companies selling queer brews while ignoring the fact that bars in Davie are closing because nobody can afford to drink anymore. Financial institutions hosting pride floats while investing in fossil fuel projects that directly harm Indigenous Two-Spirit communities. And don't even get us started on corporate-sponsored pride floats. Nothing quite says liberation like dancing in front of a multi-million-dollar chain whose minimum wage workers aren't allowed to display pronouns on their name tags. These floats are often loud, sparkly, and accompanied by some underpaid intern sweating through a unicorn onesie while tossing branded condoms into the crowd. Is it fun? Yes. Is it radical? Not even close. Pride began as a riot led by Black and brown trans women, not a branded parade with a Spotify playlist and a step and repeat backdrop. It was messy, defiant, and inconvenient. 3 things that don't look great on corporate social media grids. And yet the modern day Pride experience is often curated by marketing teams who think inclusive means putting a drag queen in an ad next to a rainbow frappuccino, while ignoring the actual needs of queer and trans communities, like housing, healthcare, safety, and not being tokenized 11 months out of the year. Here's the tea. Queer liberation cannot be bought, branded, or boiled down into a limited edition collection of rainbow-themed athleisure. You can't Venmo your way into the revolution. Visibility is cute, but we want accountability. Show up for queer workers, fund grassroots initiatives, make your spaces accessible, and stop sponsoring pride floats if your internal HR policy still treats trans employees like a legal gray area. Because let's be honest, we've seen the receipts, and no, we don't care how many TikToks you post with "Born This Way" playing in the background. So the next time a brand slides into Pride Month, like a gay influencer into a PR list, ask yourself, are they here for the cause or just here for the clout? And more importantly, are they still around in July? Pride isn't a marketing opportunity, it's a living, breathing fight for liberation, and it deserves more than glitter-wrapped gaslighting. If you want to know where queer culture is headed, don't look at corporate HR diversity training slides or that one rainbow bench outside City Hall. Look at TikTok, where a trans mask with dyed eyebrows is explaining gender theory using iced coffee metaphors while vaguing in a thrifted skirt from 2003. The future, she's already here, and she's streaming live from a bedroom lit only by LED strips and righteous rage. Today's queer generation isn't just here to be visible. They're here to make noise, break binaries, and roast your outdated ally ship in 4K. They're not interested in assimilation or waiting for approval from systems that never serve them. They're DIYing their own identities, co-creating safe spaces, and dismantling centuries of cis heteronormativity between Google Docs, memes, and dance remixes of political speeches. Pronouns, fluid. Gender, a vibe. The new era of queerness isn't about fitting into neat labels, it's about curating chaos with intention. That chaos lives online as much as it lives IRL. Social platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Discord have become the new queer hubs where teens come out, unpack drama, drag turfs, plan rallies, and exchange top surgery recovery tips, all before second period. Gone are the days where you had to move to the big city and hang out on Davie Street to find queer community. Now you can build your chosen family across continents, get dating advice from a gender-fluid witch in Berlin, and raise mutual aid funds from a single viral post that says, "Help me escape my conservative town and I'll drop a thirst trap as a reward." But let's be clear, this isn't just fun and filters. This generation is angry, brilliant, and unfiltered AF. They're watching the world burn, literally, while being told to stay proud by politicians who can't define the word non-binary without checking a focus group. So they're not just posting, they're organizing. Queer youth are leading climate strikes, demanding intersectional justice, calling out whitewashed pride events, and showing up for indigenous sovereignty and anti-racism movements, with eyeliner sharp enough to cut a $1 billion real estate deal in half. And what do they want? Not just equality, equity, safety, housing, and a city that actually puts its rainbow money where its mouth is. They want nightlife that's sober optional, venues that are actually accessible, and an LGBTQ plus scene that doesn't revolve around those who can afford the cover charge or fit into skinny jeans. They're creating art, running Zine collectives, launching trans-run businesses, organizing community fridges, and refusing to settle for scraps of representation. And they'll drag anyone, brands, banks, or boomers who try to co-opt their culture without actually investing in their futures. It's giving, we are not your market demographic, we are your political reckoning. Yes, the future is loud, yes, it's fluid, and yes, it's probably dancing in front of a ring light while breaking down queer Marxist theory in a 45-second duet video. This is the queer future. It's messy, it's brilliant, it's online and offline, soft and sharp, sarcastic and sacred, and it's not asking for permission. So here we are, glitter-smudged, emotionally resilient, and slightly hungover from yet another community fundraiser because the government refuses to fund literally anything but sidewalks and vibes. Yes, the gays will survive. We always do. We've survived moral panics, police raids, homophobic uncles, and the heartbreak of seeing your favorite queer bar turn into a frozen yogurt chain with exposed brick. Queer resilience is undefeated. We've built empires out of alleyways, stitched chosen families from broken homes, and thrown dance parties in abandoned warehouses with nothing but a speaker, a dream, and a Costco-sized box of glow sticks. And while corporations try to bottle our aesthetic and sell it for $59.99 plus tax, we're out here doing the real work, organizing, creating, surviving, and serving looks while doing it. But let's be very clear, we're tired of surviving, we want to thrive. And we want to do it without a $2,800 rent tag for a unit with a partial window view of a brick wall. Vancouver's queer scene is vibrant, historic, and defiant, but it's also under pressure from every direction. Rising housing costs, gentrification, underfunded support systems, and endless rainbow wash nonsense from institutions that wave a flag once a year and ghost us the rest of the time. The solution isn't a more rainbow crosswalk, it's rent control. It's affordable housing that doesn't come with a 5-year waitlist and a security deposit larger than your student loan debt. It's protecting the spaces we already have, the bookshops, the youth centers, the sober dance nights, the parks where our communities gather, and funding the grassroots organizations that actually keep people alive, not just inspired. Because what good is a pride float if half the people watching it have been displaced by the condo it drove past? And while we're at it, let's make queer spaces that aren't just bars. Let's create more room for queer elders, queer kids, disabled queers, neurodivergent queers, broke queers, tired queers, and anyone who's ever felt like Davie wasn't built with them in mind. The future isn't one size fits all, it's patchwork. And honey, we know how to sew. So yes, the gays will survive, but wouldn't it be iconic if we didn't have to just survive? Wouldn't it be revolutionary to just live, to rest, to exist in joy without wondering how many shifts we have to pick up to make rent, or whether our community space will still be here next year? Because let's face it, queer culture isn't fragile. It's a drag queen in a thunderstorm holding an umbrella made of glitter and spikes, but that doesn't mean we don't deserve shelter, support, and stability. Give us the tools, give us the funding, and for the love of Gaga, fix the damn housing crisis. And just like that, the city's pulse slows, but the story doesn't stop. You've been watching ISVi, Imran Star Video, where voices come together and the city speaks back. We're a crew, not a single face, a movement, not a moment, and every episode that's built with you, for you, by all of us. From the seawall to the skyline, from underground voices to rooftop vibes, we're telling the stories that don't make the news, but make the neighborhood. If this episode hit, pass it on, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, drop a comment, leave a like, and tell us what your Vancouver sounds like. We're building this together, clip by clip, story by story, from 100 to 10,000 subscribers to wherever this takes us. When we get there, we all show up. So until the next drop, stay loud, stay collective, and stay in it. This is ISVi, signing off.